to the agenda? You had
Yeah, they say going over the agreement for,
the one that we just got back
CFOS.
from,
yeah. And then,
It's-
and then we have to, yeah, that. And then we have to, you have to appoint,
oh yes, the
Yes,
nominating committee.
nominating.
The first item was?
Oh, we
Uh,
have to go over the agreement for the Goshen Public Library Foundation
with the community foundation.
with the Community Foundation of Barnes and Sullivan.
Okay. We didn't get that in our packets, did we?
No, we didn't because it
This-
isn't finalized. We just got this back
Oh,
from
okay.
our lawyer this,
Oh, okay.
10 to 7.
So we'll
So,
just discuss that.
right, we'll just talk about it. Okay, we'll put that under, what, new building?
Yeah.
Sounds good. All right. Okay, would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Keith, would you do the honors?
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Privilege of the floor? Anyone? No? Alright, okay, approval of the minutes from the last meeting. Everyone have a chance to take a look at the February 8th minutes? We don't have March? Okay. Anyone have any changes they wanna make to the minutes? Spelling errors? Can I have a motion to accept the minutes from, February 8th? Norma, second? Bernie, all in favor? Thank you. Okay, treasurer's report, Jack, you're up.
Oh, great, thank you. Good evening, everyone. We have our reports here through March, so I guess 3/4 of the way through the year. The month of March, about a couple weeks ago, we got our last check, 120, full for the year. We current. March, the library charges were significantly on budget. It could be that some of the ones with the deposits only more, but overall dated, so it's right on. There was a deposit for $1,000 for another donation from Elaine, who's here with us tonight, a kind donation. I can't remember if I deposited that in April or late March. Just for did enter it on the report, but it went in the restricted account, so there's really 4,200 in there, but I figured I would mention that,
Thank you.
and so that was a nice donation, so there's 4,200 in there. The salaries for the month were 100, so year to date now we're slightly under. I think at last month we were about 1,000 over. Now we're like almost $230 under year to date. The books are same old story, trying to catch up on Bay Taylor, but I'm assuming at the end of the year they'll be on budget or close to on budget. I don't think anything else really, other than the professionals you could see, is way over, because that includes a lot of checks that we've been paying that related to the new building project. And before the next meeting, I'm going to come up with a list of all the items all the expenses that should be coming out of the
Bond
new,
anticipation.
right, the bond anticipation note. So year to date, you see we're over only because of that. So for next month's meeting, I'll come up with an itemized list of all that, and then I would assume that our year to date number is probably slightly under budget. We're mentioning the month during the annual report. Next account sheet will show that our $950,000 check last Wednesday. So we deposited in that account. The other county
Project.
Oh yeah, I changed the name. the actual bank statement. So now that's $950,000, so it's in there, it's all set.
Great.
And also for them to do every month from now on.
Okay,
So you could and more or less that's where we're at.
does anyone have any checks? Anyone have any questions?
I was wondering, the more count, the higher interview.
Right.
What did they do 2000 as far as the interest concerned?
When I was there, I didn't do contact. He was double, but I over Wednesday after I got back, and I haven't had a chance to learning. Great, but even on the other account we have with them that has the 1,000 in it, like under point, I'll find out that, but I don't know if you will get us more, but you know, make whatever point or something.
Okay. Negotiate, some other that will
Right,
money,
right,
and make money off.
right,
That's for sure.
Yeah,
right.
what we should probably do is, talk with the guild, what our anticipated payment schedule is, and then if we're not gonna touch a $500,000 or stuff like that into
Six
it more.
months. To do for him.
Inquire about as well, but it was because it happened last
Right.
Wednesday. You know, the account, well, not just on the report, but at the actual, we ordered new checks, and now we just check, and then I definitely inquire about that. We definitely should be earning what we've been getting on the other.
Too bad we don't a financial advisor for the next 3 years, because there's a lot of money that's going to be moving around.
Okay.
I'd like to take advantage of that.
Yeah, the only problem is we can't actually invest the money into any type of high-risk account.
I know, I realize
Yeah,
that,
so,
but I still
so
think
that itself is
Yeah,
not,
but the actual-
not
Well,
a sign.
you know, mentioned the month CD. That's certainly
Yeah,
not a high
yeah,
risk.
absolutely.
Well, we have to be careful with that, cause we really can't put the money somewhere we can't get at it.
Right.
So.
Before
at
we need
least-
it, yeah.
Well, if we put it in a 6-month CD and then can't get at it, or we pay penalties on it, we've now shot ourselves in the foot.
Right.
And we end up having the equity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Foolish,
Start
can't
to
do
start Gil Bain, that'd be the probably,
that. Yep.
yeah.
May I have a motion to accept the treasurer's report?
So moved.
Thank you, Jim. And Keith seconded it. All in favor? Thank you very much. Thank you, Jack.
For everyone.
Okay.
And everybody.
All right. Just report.
Yes, good evening, everybody. See here. You should have gotten your spring edition of the newsletter, I hope so.
Yep.
Biter. Another edition. And involved line.
Nice.
It's up online today. It was even a couple weeks back. Of course, the so-called sandwich board is out there. It has date and time of the last. We also changed, actually, now that we have Katie in-house, it's a lot easier to get website stuff changed fast. So we were able to have her do the landing page, just take out the new building pictures and put the candidates running for the board and put the budget information up. I feel good. This is probably this year we've gotten the stuff up just in fashion. I guess you could say that, you know, that since I've been in that chair, it was good. It's good to have somebody in-house doing that. It makes it a lot easier. We had a delayed opening, believe it or not, on April 4th. Managed to stay open even as other libraries around us fell. I don't know why, but they were all e-newsletters. I'm sure you're getting them on the 1st or 15th or thereabouts. Let's see. I don't know if you read through this. We had a number of committee meetings, etc. Bill Troy's Citizens Advisory Committee had a couple meetings with, one with the architect and their engineer, and then a follow-up meeting a couple weeks later after they had received the updated plan, this newest iteration of plans, I should say. More about that on the agenda for later tonight, so I won't go on about that. Junior Friends got to meet with, that was sort of a delight. They had to meet with the engineer as well, same day, early March, no, that was, yeah, mid-March. And Paul promised that they'll have the opportunity to meet again, even though they were pretty, they had their bullet points, and they kind of know what they want, but they'll have the opportunity to meet again with them as plans proceed. Strata, the archaeological firm that we've hired to do the surface dig at the Legion property, I believe are finished. I haven't been past there. If they're not finished, they're nearly finished. They found a few bottles and some foundations, of course, and yeah, okay. So, but nothing that would seem to indicate any reason for the project to be halted at this time. So that's good news. It was, I believe, Ed Conner had come into my office a couple of weeks ago, mentioning. So I come in from I go 84 to 17 and then around this way.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's signs all along 207 about a repaving project, and I had no idea since I've again coming in. So he came in nervously saying, you guys might want to tell your architect and engineer this is about to begin. So I put a call in, a number of calls actually, and I think I got right talked to the documentation. And it, for a minute, because it sounded like the transportation was demanding that we get our work done, whatever work we needed to get done prior to their starting their work. They didn't want us cleaning up there. As it turned out, after engineers, our engineer is going to have to do for this, our several feet, probably right, as Bernie mentioned, but away from, and so they've come to an agreement. The state can go ahead and start where they're going to start, and things are coordinated, or just lucky enough that we're not, so it's not what's down. But it sounded like, it was it's that they're going to do what they need. Say there's where that if it's directly the village fence, a little bit of this hurdle, so we'll worry about that forward. Speaking of Ed, actually, Ed Conner is going to speak on behalf of the Friends. I've straightened out, but assisting Ed in setting some equipment coming up. Has talked to the Friends and them to the fact that he's going to be speaking on the behalf of the library. That's his plan. So more about that later. Right now, as help him set up a PowerPoint and our what's it called, projector, etc., at Village Hall the night before the event, so everything should running.
That's going to be on the Saturday.
Yes.
Also involved on Friday night.
I don't know. They asked us to set up for Saturday as so. They left us still sort of fluid, but yeah. So at least we're helping out. And like I mentioned last time, I did remember, although I have to admittedly a few days ago, to call Dan Rohde to put in the second half of the AC system, which he plans to do in the next couple of weeks. If you remember last summer, half of the system replaced by Rohde Plumbing and Heating or something from Poughkeepsie, and they did a great job. And we had put off doing the second half for thinking that we might be able to use the grant, but it turned out we weren't going to be able to. But he's going to give us basically the same estimate. He said $200 more for some, but basically the same estimate. Was a good one the first time. So we'll have a in place in the next few. Did an amazing ballot box. I don't know if you saw the Indy.
Picture.
Really good. So, so even though it's a little strange to be going, everyone else is going this age where, but old time stuff sometimes is the best stuff, so. At least for now, until we start getting thousands and thousands of people voting on our blanket. But for now.
Put a post in the parking lot.
There you go.
I had the else I wanted to, but if it comes, that's it for now.
Good. Well, thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Okay, so, new building committee. OBS,
Oh, yeah.
yes. Well, we have a meeting with them again next Monday, right? The 18th?
18th,
Yes.
yeah.
What time?
2 p.m.
Yes.
That's what I have in my phone.
Yeah.
so I mean-
Yep.
So 2 p.m., yes. We were going to meet with the construction manager first.
I believe that he's added the construction. He hasn't confirmed anything yet, but Keith Liao, that's his name, is to come.
Just-
Yeah.
Is it
18th. Yeah.
It's probably coming, they're in Albany, right? Somebody down here. Driving with
I
them,
don't
but
know. I don't think you should know that was the plan to be there too. And,
Anyone else can attend, I mean, other than you guys, anyone can attend?
Yeah.
Just
yeah, I mean, if you just wanna be
Yeah.
there and see what's going on, sure. Yeah, I mean, it's not a public thing, it's community,
it's-
right, yeah. So anybody on the board.
on the
can
board, yeah,
attend,
be there.
It's not open to the public. Yeah, I don't know, we met with the engineer and discussed, some details about the, geothermal heating system and what we have enough money budgeted for it, and he didn't anticipate any problems, and how many wells he think we were gonna need, and, you know, they're gonna put a test well and let us know what happens, and, you know, I don't know, we just had a lot of we discussed a lot of different things, but, yeah, he tried to, you know, he told other different types of systems to heat the building, and we just like, yeah, we're gonna go with the geothermal, yeah, we're gonna go with the geothermal, so we kept coming back to, yeah, because it's what we decided to do, it's what the voters agreed with, and it's, you know, so that's where we're headed with that. So I don't know, when the test well is gonna be done, I think that's still kinda ways away. I don't think he ever gave us a date
No,
or
he
anything
didn't.
like that, it was just a discussion about the logistics of thermal heat, 400 wells, 60 of them or 30 of them, depending on how deep they can make them, and it was interesting, it was very interesting.
yeah, I think they compared him to Warwick, where they were going for deeper wells with Warwick, but they had a problem doing the deeper wells, so they had to go with
But
twice
that's
as
really short wells,
Yeah.
yeah.
probably a foot anyway. It's not really a difference in
Yes.
cost.
Right, well, I don't think he difference in cost, it was just, they were gonna 40 foot well, 400 foot wells, and instead ended up at 60, 200 foot wells or something like that, it was interesting.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's about what he expected we were gonna need as well.
And we had the land for it too.
Right,
That
we
would,
had plenty
that would
of
be the
land
only
for it,
issue.
yeah.
So,
Yep, what else did we discuss with them? That was pretty much, you know, we went over different design ideas with the building and moved things around and added rooms, and, but none of that's, every time we meet them, that changes, so,
Was there anything major that got moved?
not really,
no.
no. I mean, the elevator got moved, which I think was a good thing, right? And then,
No, I thought it stayed in the original position.
it,
Yeah.
it,
Out on
it
the
moved
outside
over.
and the-
It's on the
Yeah, sure.
outside,
On the
but it's
outside.
moved over
The-
toward, closer to the door than it originally,
Oh,
on the what do you call it, the sketch upstairs, the elevator is in one spot, they moved it where you saw it, it's in
Mhm.
that same place, but only on the outside of the building, simply because, you're right, it's disruptive. They had it originally, well, we were gonna have a back door open into the building, into the library, and then we're like, nah, it's gonna be noisy and disruptive, and then rearranged, it's just moved some walls, moved some office spaces, we ended up with another meeting room, more room in the historical room, it's actually coming out really nice.
Children's on the first floor now.
What?
No.
no.
Yeah, I mean, there was some.
There were 3 floors now.
Yeah.
Oh,
Swimming
yeah,
pool-
right. So then
swimming
we
pool
have
on the
another
fourth
$5
floor.
million.
Oh,
Nice glass,
Well,
nice
Swimming
greenhouse
pool
on
on
the
the
top floor.
fourth
That's right, yeah, it's
Alright.
lovely.
To be
Right
honest,
next
I'm
to the air conditioner.
confused about the elevator at this point, the placement of it. I thought it had just turned.
Yeah, 90 degrees.
It
It's in the
turns.
same place, but
It's in the same place,
the
but
door
it
is now
turns.
facing.
But right, it's
Yeah.
because of the way they didn't want the queue for the elevator to block the
That's what
entrance
it
to
is,
the
right,
library.
that's right.
So they turned the door of the elevator 90 degrees so that you'd be queuing up for the elevator in a different spot instead of in front of the door of the
Blocking.
library. It was just
Right.
the things like that
Mhm.
got changed. You know, a gate on the, you know, that's my phone.
Okay.
It's a gate, you know, where the librarians are and where Matt's office going to be here or here or it's just that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
it's progression. Each time that we meet with them and they meet with this, they talk to the staff but
Yeah, they talked to a bunch
there's
of them.
problems or concerns that arise, and so they
Right.
respond with these things. So they came.
Right.
The confusion with the elevators that they had tried to move it to a different, to slightly away from where our original thing was, and we decided no, we like it better.
Right,
When it
and
was, but
the
they still-
reason they wanted to move it was again a traffic flow thing.
Mm-hmm.
So they solved that by turning the elevator. And it's just
Yeah.
funny.
I think the only major thing we left them with was, as you come into the front entrance, we're talking about actually putting like kind of a glass, almost like not a balcony, but an enclosed balcony, so glass
Yeah,
viewing
yeah.
area over
And it would
the front
add
entryway.
another like
It won't
room
be-
area upstairs outside the children's room.
Yeah, so
But the
it'll-
downstairs area would still remain open.
yeah.
But you know, and then instead of because of course now it's the children's area, then we're talking fingerprints and he's talking portholes. It was actually got to be a lot of fun. And we're like, I have no idea what we're gonna end up with, but we'll see what happens on the 18th.
But part of it also was just to give more wall space, if you will, for things that we want to put up.
Sure, right. Things we could display and, you know, thank yous for all of the donations and whatever banners for new programs that were coming.
Mhm.
And we didn't want to take space away from the Friends store downstairs. So we moved the Friends store. That's the first thing you see, and then the meeting room is now on the other side instead of the way it is upstairs. And then that actually can be opened up into the lobby even if the library is closed. You know, things like that. It's very useful. But I'm not forgetting anything, Jim?
No, I think you've hit on the main points.
Yep. Okay.
It's still a work in progress, and
Yeah,
we're
very
gonna hear
much.
from the Citizens Advisory Committee, and
Yes.
Part of the balance too is that at one point they mentioned, I think, patio doors, to actually doors in the center of that side of the thing that would open to the patio, but we kind of said, well, that's a security problem. We don't want that many doors
right.
leaving
Yes.
the building without, we'd have to have controls over each door and things. So that
It
was.
should be the main entrance and just that, because that's
Mhm.
for staffing.
Yes,
You know, for
yeah.
people, we can't have people all over the place.
So, and plus, it takes away from sitting areas that things we had intended, originally intended. So.
Right.
So that's it. It's just discussion at this point.
Yeah.
Come up with ideas, and we go, I like that one. Nah, I don't like that one.
Yeah, right. And then it's like, well, you know, we could do this, but oh, right, it's $500 a square foot. Like, you know, oh yeah,
Mhm.
maybe we don't want to do that. But yeah, we still haven't even discussed the patio or anything yet. The exterior, still. Anyway.
And that's why, I just want to interject, that's why it should be helpful to have Keith available, because he could
Yes.
quickly turn some of these ideas that are just conceptual into at least rough numbers, if you will.
Right, and that's useful because a
Faster
lot
than
of
the
things
architect,
sound
really.
like a good idea until you actually see how very much money they're going to cost. You're like, oh yeah, it's not really that good an idea. So, you know, so a lot of things got thrown away for that reason. Yeah, I think that's, so why don't we discuss the Library Foundation. There's not really a lot we can say about this yet because we haven't even got all these corrections that we haven't read yet.
Yeah, so what happened is I talked to the Community Foundation, and they said, because as Jack mentioned, we now have $4,200 in the reserve, in the account that's been donated to the library. So they said that's enough, that can be the basis of the start of the fund, basically.
Right.
So they sent us an agreement, and I actually, some things had changed from the first agreement they sent over, so our lawyer reviewed it again, and he only just sent back
Right.
notes, so we'll.
Yeah, well, one of the questions on here, which I think the board should decide, is what we want, it's called right now the Goshen Library Foundation.
Yeah,
And I think,
that was what they left it as,
right,
and I said, well, we'll discuss that in the meeting.
right, and so we're at the meeting, so let's discuss what we're gonna name the foundation.
Yeah.
So the Goshen Goshen Library and Historical Society, Goshen Public Library, right now
Goshen
it just
Public
says,
Library and Historical Society.
Yeah, so
Because that's what I thought,
So
right,
what
that's why.
they said was, or what Elizabeth said was, in terms of writing checks, they can be pretty creative on getting things cashed, is kind of how she phrased it. Doesn't sound right, but still.
Yeah,
But yeah, so even if we put the whole thing, Goshen Public Library and Historical Society Foundation in there, people will be able to write checks to GPLHS Foundation,
sure.
and they'll have no problem
Good.
submitting that. So
Alright, so then why don't we make that the official Goshen Public Library and Historical Society Foundation?
yeah, he left the public out of here, so I'm just
Yeah,
not sure
okay.
public gets in there.
Yeah, so we'll just put our real name and then slap foundation on the end.
Okay.
There you go. Yeah, just. Do we have to get? Yeah, does everybody wanna take a look at this before I sign it, or do you wanna just be okay with this, setting up the fund and just trusting our lawyer's judgment?
Oh, okay,
And
so
then as a board, we'll just approve it as amended, and then everybody can get a final copy? Do you wanna do it that way, or do we wanna wait?
the way it stands, well, last I spoke to Elizabeth, she said that they would be available for our May 9th meeting
Okay,
to come in and actually officially sign it and get a photo op, and they can get a news media over
so
here
why don't we
too.
do it that way then?
Do it that way. So they have, yeah, so then, I guess,
So we can go back and forth with the lawyer and them
and
between
get an
now and
actual
the next.
clean copy.
And
yeah,
it'll be beautiful, get a big fancy.
and get it sent
pen.
out.
We'll get the
So probably
paper,
that's the best thing is to, we'll get
Okay.
the revised copy and send it out to everybody in case anybody, we can send this out to
Yeah, right.
what Ben sent out.
And then we'll officially vote on it at our May 9th meeting.
So folks, once this is established, do they send the checks directly to Community Foundation, or can they drop it off at the library to be sent? How will that?
They'll send it directly to the community foundation, and with the and again, she'll probably draw something up that we can give to people
Mm-hmm.
in terms of what they can put on the checks and how to mark the checks.
Right,
And,
and
but
we
it's
can
still
just put something on our website too, right?
Mhm.
Isn't there a way to
Yes.
donate that
Yeah.
way?
Yep.
Mm.
and that way.
Electronic donations.
Oh, yes.
Oh, interesting. I don't know. We
See,
can ask
Electronic
Yeah, there's
donations are
gotta be a
the
way.
way to do
That's
it.
the way
It's
to
the
go.
easiest way to go.
Even churches, even
I know, honestly.
credit card.
It drives me crazy that the school doesn't take that for lunch money, but, yeah.
And then so she can she'll have that. We'll have that
Okay.
either
So
electronic
would you
submission or at
put
least the
that on
documentation on there.
agenda
So.
for May 9th?
For Elizabeth Raleigh?
Yes.
Yep. Got it.
Okay.
Sooner than later, because people are starting to come around asking. like,
Yep.
What do I
So
do?
we're
What do I
setting
do?
it
How do
all
I-
up so they
Yeah,
can
no,
come to
that's
the
great.
May 9th
Right,
meeting
right.
too. That'd be nice. Everybody,
Line
bring
up.
your check. Come to the May 9th meeting and just.
No,
yeah,
no
yeah.
amount is too small.
So when are we gonna do the naming opportunity list?
I think we still have to decide what that exactly is, and that the architect helps us with that, and because it's, what are we going to give people the opportunity to pay for? We don't even know yet, like pavers, benches, that kind of thing, we
Right.
just haven't gotten to the,
And
That's-
assigning
yeah.
a dollar amount to it.
right, exactly.
I think Megan has a lot of, not
She
just
does,
Megan, Megan
right. Megan from the architect.
Architects.
And part of that's gonna come off the final, whatever they call it, the final paperwork, the final plans for everything. Cause at some point, we're going to have a pack that we bless, that we give to Gilbane, and this is what we want done.
Right.
And then everything works off of that. So
Right.
that list is gonna have most everything, including a lot of the furnishings.
Right,
Park benches may or may not be included in that, things like that. So
right,
then off of that, we'll also be able to determine if we want naming conventions from the rooms,
mhm,
naming conventions for the PlayStation in the kids' room, things like that.
right.
Um,
And then once we have that, once we know what the budget covers and what extras we could ostensibly want, then, yeah, Megan has a whole, she's done this before with
Yeah,
several of the libraries.
and probably
but it's
independent
pretty
anyway.
sure, yeah.
People can donate to whatever. They can
Yeah, right.
donate money for nothing, just because they
We,
love us. They
the
can donate
last,
money for.
The last building, referendum, we had pledges for naming opportunities before there were any actual naming opportunities, cause obviously there never were any. But we did have a list of pledges, $1,000 pledged for a naming
Mhm.
opportunity, and then when the naming opportunities would come up, we would donate, contact the donors and let them make their choice then. So, we could still, if someone's really interested, maybe we could set up a donor list or a pledge list or something like that.
I've also sort of put my feelers out, just very informally, to the Rotary Cause I know there's people just very local to here that are library supporters that have certain expertise in fundraising, and I just thought maybe at some point they'd be good just to get ideas, just to sit around with maybe a little bit and brainstorm about things. You know, they've done it in various capacities for various other nonprofits, and I thought maybe that'd be something at some point we can do. But I haven't made any phone calls yet. I've just been keeping names. So as we go forward.
Yes.
One thing we need to, or I don't know, we need to decide, but per se is you know, the Friends does a lot of excellent work for us. A lot of times their focus has been on the operating expenses that we have, the programs and things like that. We really want to be able to be flexible and open up to any contributions from any place, time and money as well. So we're going to have to, going forward, try to figure out the best way to handle any type of contributions from anybody. And the foundation is going to help in terms of monetary donations, but it's going to be a big assistance to the plan.
Is there anything else we gotta talk about the new building? We're good? Okay, moving right along. Physical resources, this building, we're putting in the air conditioning, right?
Air conditioning and painting, we have
Okay,
painting.
that's all.
I called him a couple weeks ago, he said, you're on the list. I said, can you give me a date? Not yet, this is when it was snowing. But he said, I will be able to tell you soon as the weather figures out what it's doing, so.
Once winter decides it's over.
Yeah.
Hopefully
He just
before
needs to
the
stretch it warm.
ice cream social.
That's
Yeah.
what I was
in
saying. I
August.
said, we have
Yeah.
things in the summer, I definitely wanna have it done by then. And he assures me we'll be one of the, we caught him early, Jim actually caught him early, so we're
Okay.
supposed to be up
On
on
the
top of
list,
this
right,
stuff, so.
good. Okay, anything else for physical resources? All right then, moving right along. Community resources, the newsletter's beautiful.
Yes, thank you.
Don't look at me, Megan did it.
Amazing. Well, your community resources,
Yeah.
it's lovely. Okay, anything else?
There was a meeting of the Salesian Friends, which I did not get to go to because I had the date wrong.
I missed you.
Yeah.
That's
Was
right.
there an
Kinda
email
figured
that
that.
went out?
No, there was an email that went out the day after the meeting happened from me to remind
No, but
everybody.
before that, was there an email saying this is
No.
the date?
Well,
there
no,
there
there
wa-
wasn't.
there was like
Yes.
a round robin email that everybody
That's
was
what I
going
remember
back and forth,
seeing,
and we had
and
decided
people-
on a date. See you then, and I wrote it down wrong, and I didn't get there, but
All I remember was I'm not available on this date, but I can do on this date. And
yeah,
I just thought, okay, never mind.
yeah, yeah. But you were there, right?
I was there, Jim was there.
Okay.
And there's, from just the early discussion, there are questions that need to be answered before we can really pursue anything.
Mhm.
I think it's Kate and Trish will be. I thought they were to send an email out with the questions that were collected at the meeting. I haven't seen that email
Okay.
yet.
Yeah, I was waiting for it. I didn't see it there. Was there any talk about a potential dog park?
Yes, there was talk.
Okay. All right. What did where and
That
what?
seems to be happening
I think it is.
separate from committee.
Okay.
That's happening through is it the town board? It's working with.
It's both. She had presented to the town board. The town board wanted to make changes because I think she was seeking funds from the town board. And she being the Girl Scout. Girl that's behind this, who
Is it
she'd
Kate
researched. I don't recall her
Felonzer.
name,
Right?
Felonzer, what's her first name?
Felonzer. Okay.
but she had
Katie.
researched. She spent time with Kate, who's been trying to get a dog park for years. And one of the things was to have I think it was 6-foot fence. And the town wanted to reduce it to 4 feet to save some money. And just a 4-foot fence does not keep dogs in. And there was a bit of frustration from that.
Mhm.
But I'm not sure how it's progressed, what's going to happen in the end. I think she's doing well with raising funds.
Which area of the park?
Yeah,
I
compared
thought
to
it
where
was
we are.
I thought it was behind the school.
Yeah, correct.
Up on
Yeah.
the hill
There's
there,
like a
Oh,
hilly
okay.
where the
side.
water tower was.
Right.
So it's actually a good area for it.
Okay.
It's not frequented,
Yeah. Yeah.
Except people trying to hide when they're
Yeah.
Any
Doing
talk
stuff
about
like
the
that.
school?
There's not much to talk about. It's just going to cost money, to.
Has to
You
come
know
down
what?
at
No.
some point.
Okay. There was talk, and more than that. There's all this land behind off of is it Owens Road there?
No, it's
Coleman?
Coleman.
Coleman.
Yeah.
That it goes all the way to Coleman. That really, I don't think anything could be done by the joint rec to actually turn that into part of the park and to possibly sell some of those lots to get funding to then use to take down the school. It's a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
It's there was talk of this and there were questions on what could be done if it's even at this point, whether it's a passive or active park, and what rights or what is expected of the joint rec itself, what they are able to do on their own, and or that would require both the town and village to provide a ruling on. So they have to answer those questions before we could really think about what can be done there,
Mm-hmm.
especially the active passive part. So.
Right. So no progress on the like the picnic area or
I don't. You talking what Ray Rooney had suggested, which I thought was wonderful and low
Yeah.
cost, and
yeah.
I'm not hearing that's being pursued.
Oh, okay.
That's hard,
Mhm.
right? We
Right, it
don't
seems
know
to
what's
have
going
gone.
on with it,
Okay.
so there's a lot of ambiguity of this meeting and questions and how this meeting
You
be
were
more
there too, right?
productive.
Okay. And I'll go to that one.
Are you there? You-
No.
Oh, okay.
So.
Okay. Anything else for community resources?
No, I don't think so.
Now, did the Friends of the Legislation Park meet April 12th? I have that written down somewhere.
That's
Up there.
tomorrow.
Do you know anything about that? That is like their regular meeting or something?
No idea.
Okay, that's a question mark.
Is that you mean like Peg Lions?
Yeah, Peg
Heard
Well,
Lions.
that was that not what
Isn't that with the one
meeting
you
was?
went?
No, this
Is it
would be the members of the, not, the Friends has its members, this would be like a membership meeting,
Oh.
rather than I don't know, I have that written down.
Another scheduled one too?
No.
No?
I think
No,
the
there
que-
wasn't.
The questions that came up were so funny. What legal authority the joint rec had, what, when the park created, what when the park was created, and until those questions were, answered, I didn't think we could. So why?
The permit was actually used.
The language.
We didn't even know it was the case. It was a grant that would have caused it to stay passive. That's my memory of it. So they have to answer those questions first.
Are you assigned to chasing down any particular question?
Well, I think Trish will do that.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Thank
Anywho.
you. Okay. Human resources. I have to send you direction.
Right.
And I'll take care of that, Megan. I think there's anything else we have to do, is there? Human resources? Carol? There aren't any, no, okay.
There's not that questionnaire that you send around?
That's the vice president's job,
Oh,
and I
okay.
have to send it to the vice president, and I didn't do it. So I have to take care of that. And then Sunshine Committee, are we still flush, or?
Well, depends upon your definition of flush.
Do I owe money? I do.
I
Okay.
didn't want to.
I
Okay.
don't wanna bring it up.
Oh, you
but
can. You
know.
can ask. How much do I owe? Is it 20?
It's
50.
Okay.
50.
It's going
Hey,
up. The late
if
fee.
they don't know how
It's a
much
late
they
fee.
owe,
We're like a
It's
bank.
late fee.
it's the processing
Right.
fee.
Thank
It's a
you.
processing fee.
There's a processing fee.
There you go.
That's right.
A restocking.
A restocking
boy.
fee.
That's what stores
New
have
member
now.
fee.
Restocking fee.
you love that, and it's cost you more than it's to buy things in the first place.
I also have a nice thank you note from Megan.
Oh, for the
Yeah, why don't
teapot,
you-
yes.
Why don't you pass that around?
Yeah,
That's a
sure.
nice
Yes,
note.
it's very nice. Okay, and the Friends, anything going on with the Friends?
Well, as was mentioned previously, Ed Connor's going to be talking on May 7th. May 4th, following in Goshen, which is going to be pretty spectacular this year. A lot more located and are being brought forth. I got an email today that we don't have the Coates car, but Adele Coates thinks she has a wheel. She's going to love that wheel. It'll be fun to see it.
Yeah.
And then the Friends have their annual reorganization 17th election of officers, and it's the same slate, fortunately, we have the same people, good people, willing to run again and serve. That's it.
When is the organization?
It's May 17th is the reorganization.
All right, so there would be other unfinished business. All right, new business. We waited patiently, Bill, now you're up. Citizens Advisory Committee final report from Chairman Bilby.
Thank you.
Yeah. I was just gonna do that. Because, yeah, I was just doing it.
Okay, so I don't want to just read the report, but I wanted to give you the full report for completeness. First of all, the members of the committee, I don't know if everybody knows who they were, but Chris Ashman, Ed Connor, Laura Engel, Ed Garling, Deb Marone, Elaine, Ray Quattrini, Kyle Roddy, Kate Schmidt, and myself. And there were a few other names mapped out. We extended invitations. They ended up not being able to attend. So these were regular. As actually March 5th, 6th was after had received revised drawing from Paul Mays, and we went to a lot of the early we did was based on the sketch, and as it's changed,
Yes.
and will change again, I guess. What you're going to see in the review of the committee suggestions are and address the baseline, and you've already mentioned a couple of them.
Yes.
So we have stuff to talk about.
Yes.
But we felt bring these up. You know, they are the result input of these people, and some of them, I mean, like Ray Quattrini has had a lot of experience in construction, and you know, he was very valuable to our deliberations. Not to say only Ray, but he inputted quite a lot. So why don't we start with the atrium? Eye-catching about it. I mean, it really sets it off. But we believe as a committee that there are several concerns that have to be considered about the atrium. The cost of construction is significantly more than what other alternatives might be. The maintenance cost is going to be a lot more. Typically, building, footage base, the glass, blah, blah, blah. A lot of concern about the solar in the summer, the radiation, and I know use glass. Still, the frame is the building. A lot of convection. Itself, I'm going to say works at iteration. chief among aspect of security. I know you guys have talked about, we've looked and again, there is still a problem security with the ability to limit access to all parts of the library. And when we talked to Paul about it, he said, well, the atrium, the way it is, we can't limit. And that was kind of the end of the conversation. So we're just reiterating that we believe there's a safety issue, and you'll have things can be done. Paul, that Matt's staff will be in a position. We've looked at the new drawing. Honestly, do not hear lines did to screen people, particularly going up to the children's area. And the other thing is that, you know, should the library staff really be security people? I mean, should it be on to be concerned about the wrong kind of people coming in? Just the recognizing it's a major feature of the building. Along with that, we think there are some concerns. Moving along to the geothermal.
Could I
Yeah, go ahead. Sure.
You said these expenses as compared to alternatives. Discuss any alternatives to atrium that the public would have as this way before into Walmart. Or what are some of these alternatives that might exist?
Yeah. One of the aspects that we see as a drawback is the fact that it is this super high curved glass surface. Access for things like lighting and cleaning are very difficult. So that the first thing we talked about is, could we extend the floor across so that you actually have 2 floors in there, and that would make maintenance a lot more accessible. Another thing is the construction of the curved surface. Apparently, not my expertise, but Ray Quattrini's, the curved surface is more expensive to construct than a flat surface. So what if, as an alternative, we had a 3-sided but flat surface vertical structure? And I'm sure there may be other. Be in a position of saying the architect he'd be building. Because that's not our deal. But
all right, I probably should have guys interrupted you.
No, that's fine. Questions as we go along. Geothermal from a group, but in that it's overall more expensive than a conventional system, and the long-term ends up more expensive. So the question was asked: have we done a cost-benefit analysis on payback, maintenance, and you know the additional thing was he did not believe that it would be a standalone system. In other words, that during certain periods, very hot in the summer, geothermal would not be sufficient to cool the building, so that they were going to have to bring in an additional conventional system as a backup or as a supplement.
Who felt that?
Ray.
Right, questioning.
So again, a question that should be asked.
This was part of the discussion we had with the engineer. It's just that.
Yes.
But satisfied at the end that yes, we're going with geothermal.
Okay.
But there was a supplemental system.
There is a supplemental,
Yeah.
but all geotherms
Right.
have a system.
Right.
You can't not some kind of never know what's going to.
Right. And have we done the cost and
Yes,
back as well as
we
maintenance?
did for the geothermal is philosophical, and part of the agreement with said yes, we want that in our library. So
But
that's
Is just something with
a long time.
it depends
Yeah.
upon
It does, and right now it's for cheap, and who knows what's going to happen with the cost of fuel. So there's no way to know exactly return on investment, how long it could take. Could take, if the fuel prices go through the roof, we're talking a 10-year return on investment. If they stay level, we're talking, if it doesn't change from today, it's a 20-year or 21-year return on investment.
But it the bat.
Right off the,
bat.
it's
Capital
up front,
expense.
it's, but the in-ground wells require no maintenance. It's the compressors and everything that would require maintenance, which would require maintenance regardless of the system we used. So if we had a heat system, we'd still have to maintain compressors. If we had, you know, there were a couple other things he mentioned, they all had compressors that needed to be maintained, so, yeah, it really ended up being, you know, this came up repeatedly when we put when we were discussing with the public this project before it was even a drawing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was a big deal.
The last meeting that we had where the engineer from Gilbane was in at the last meeting.
Yes.
That we went over a lot of these too and brought up these questions too. And as mentioned, yeah, it's a higher upfront cost. We knew that it was going to be a more stable cost over the life of the building,
Right.
which fuel can drastically with that maintain that thing they guess was that there will be an air into the light.
Yes.
Also have a
That
unit
would
in
have
there.
its own AC, its own, what was the word he used? It wasn't an air conditioner, it was,
Circulator?
no.
There's a heat transfer.
Yeah, there was one section on the second floor where fresh air would come in and be, whatever the word was.
Exchanged.
It's an exchanger, but it adjusts the temperature of the exterior air so that it's not a burden on the interior building. And that is not geothermal, that's an electric thing.
Right. So it acts. It's not necessarily a backup per se, but it does act as a balancer, and,
Right,
and we'll
it
be
does.
using that.
And it
regard
keeps,
too, so.
because new so
Airtight.
sealed and airtight from worrying about sickening them.
The other thing, what the experience at Wisner has been over the years that they've had it.
They loved it, what Rosemary said, right? That the
They had some trouble with accessing some
That's right.
that's
of the,
right, because
equipment, and Paul is taking that into consideration.
yeah,
Yeah.
he did, and and Rosemary even said when she came to talk to us about it was that when they originally drew the library, everything fit, but when they changed and moved things around, they didn't make allowances for the size of some of the things, and actually having to climb into a crawl space to change a filter wasn't put into consideration when the changes were made to the layout of so Paul's well aware of that, and
Bernie, we were given a tour of some of that. Do you remember the room, the mechanical rooms were
Yeah.
claustrophobic, you know, and you had to
Yeah,
really like
and
get your way around some
originally
stuff.
drawn
It was-
claustrophobically, they were drawn,
Right.
but they stole room from the mechanicals to give room to something else, and by doing that made it difficult to maintain.
Right, and they mentioned that it wouldn't be suspended ceilings like this room, but it would be access panel,
Right.
more to the equipment
Right.
Right.
as it's built into ours.
Yeah. This is in the mechanical room, so-called mechanical room.
Mechanical rooms and air handlers and compressors, anything that would need maintenance.
Right, we would
It
have
was
access panels and,
I thought there would, out in the main area, there would be a type of suspended.
yeah, if we were talking about that,
Yeah.
about having
It wouldn't look like this.
it
but-
wouldn't look like
No.
this, it would be nice.
Oh yeah.
And it would be,
I didn't.
it would be
So that
squared, and
anytime
it
you
was
two
need to
different
get
things,
anywhere,
right, and it
yeah,
was different. We
access.
hadn't decided exactly on what we wanted to do because there were options where we could have things with access panels, or we could just have a whole ceiling and you wouldn't be able to tell. But the public wouldn't be able to go, oh look, an access panel. So, yeah.
Okay.
So,
Next, the building exterior.
Mhm.
Paul talks about this cementitious material, the synthetic that's going to be used.
yes,
And clearly, it has a longer lifetime than wood. There's no question about that.
sure.
It still, though, is subject to the elements of weather.
Right.
And there was a push within the group to consider brick as an alternative, especially if cost savings could be achieved elsewhere in this project.
The project is close to the bone as it is. Cushion building that
Mhm.
does not accommodate brick.
Right.
The
Well,
cost, this is what, and we were in agreement with, if anybody wants to write a check to cover the cost of the brick, we'll listen to them, but, yeah, we
One
didn't,
thing
So-
that we never did find out, though, what would the brick cost?
yeah, we didn't
We
know
really
the,
need to,
right, because then are we talking a brick facade, are we talking brick walls, are we talking
brick
brick
facade.
in spots?
That's what
Yeah,
the
instead
suggestion
of,
was.
right, and then it's still real brick, then we were making about and stucco. Then, but yeah, we didn't, but go ahead.
So the thinking was, we recognize it would be more expensive, and
Yes,
everything's
much more
close to the bone,
expensive,
that's not a
yeah.
question. So the thinking was, if there was some, the atrium, such that save would be achieved by a redesign, that money could redirect. So I'm just putting out
Sure.
as that's the thinking of the. The other thing was discussions a couple times, our roof, Paul mentioned, quote unquote, leak, whether pitched or man, so question of leakage. There was also a feeling in the group that pitched roofs would allow more storage space under those roofs. Now, having said that, that was early on in our discussion, and the revised drawings show significantly increased amounts of storage space. So I didn't want to overlook it because at least one member of the group felt strongly about pitched roofs versus mansard. Matt's office. We're just reiterating our view, which we brought up with Paul, that the office should be flip-flopped and brought closer to the main floor. Right now, he's in an isolated corner. You have to go through either a corridor or another office to get to him. And we felt he'd be better placed out on the main floor. Said significant gains, including bumping out the east wall on the second floor, adjacent to the Historical Society room, adjacent to the first floor meeting room. A lot of storage, it looks like. So I think we've made a lot of gains there. We haven't sat down and done the square footage, but visually it looks like it takes care of what the needs we first expressed. Again, early on in discussions, we had asked about relocating Historical Society, chiefly for accessibility, for that use that. And as Paul pointed out, it would have upset the whole rest of the design to try and move that room.
Right.
Friends room, as you noted, Mary, has been moved, so it now directly with the lobby, which is very effective for the sale. So that's a good thing. Outside porch, he had said this, and then when the revised drawings came in, it looks like the porch has been wrapped around, but we really can't tell by looking at those drawings, and we didn't talk to Paul. We just got the drawings. So we'd like to confirm that, in fact, that has been converted into what we call a wraparound porch. But there's a corner on the southwest corner of the building where we measured his scale, and it's only 24 inches wide, which that's not. I know that's not excessive.
Interesting. I'm sorry. I don't mean to. When I went back to my office, and I should have mailed you on this, I realized that it was my fault. I got off giving you the ruler because that design we were looking at was shrunk down probably 4 times. So that 1/8 of an inch. In other words, we weren't looking at it in proportion.
No.
Oh.
You see what I'm saying? I don't look at plans much, but as I sat back, I said, wait a second, this was meant to be on something probably 4 times the size of that.
Okay.
So our calculations
Okay.
were all, that's
Well,
why
anyway.
they were kind of odd, but
Well, I've just said that needs to be checked.
yeah, definitely.
So-
Right.
Grounds. There was a concern about users of that park area that you were talking about in and leaving their cars in the quote-unquote library patron spaces. And we just wondered, is there some way to discourage that? I mean, could we say library use only or something,
We
on
could,
signs?
I don't remember if we actually discussed it or if the idea is already that there's the main road here and then you'd have to drive off the main road into the library parking lot, and so then, parking would be like a sign, this way, library this way,
Yeah.
that kind of a
The
thing.
problem is that lot is open at both sides. So they could come in, bypass the first entrance, and go to what I'm going to call the upper end of the library parking lot and just pull in there.
They could.
My thought was, if that's the case, close off that upper end, but that's for
Yeah,
somebody else to,
I don't think we got that far, we're still
Right.
noodling the interior.
I'd buy the sign, frankly.
Yeah, right,
That's
that's
cheap
probably
enough.
the easiest way to go.
Yeah.
We'd have to check too, because I thought that even with the parking lot, there's gonna be room for the tent for Shakespeare in the Park.
Yeah.
There is, we
Yeah.
still have a whole bunch of
Which would
green
have a
space.
serious
whole
amount of
field's lots of room.
space
between us
In other
and
words, they could,
another
they could,
parking lot.
they could park on that edge of the thing, but it'd still be a significant walk
To get to the park,
to get to
yeah.
the park area.
It really
for
wouldn't
people
be
who wanted it.
convenient for the park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
for
mean,
the
somebody
park,
could park there, use the library, and go
Yeah.
to their car in the library parking lot, which I would happen. But yeah,
We
I
also
don't-
want to be neighborly. We don't
Well,
wanna
right, that's
be,
the other
we wouldn't want to
thing.
put up too many,
Yeah.
stay away,
Right,
because
we-
this
right.
is
See
a
if
it's an
community,
issue,
the
might not
community.
might not be an issue with 65 parking spots. Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, here's hoping the library's that crowded, but
Uh-huh.
I. Yes, it's something to think about, but I don't think it's something about until actually in the building.
Okay. Finally, anyway, the committee just asked me to express our appreciation for your request for input, and I think we'll exercise. Brought out a lot of enthusiasm. I think.
Skip this one.
Oh, geez, how did I do that? Thank you,
I think
Jim.
you turned the page or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. The toddler area. That's the one that just appeared on the new drawing.
Yeah.
We had some original concerns about that area anyway before it was called toddler area because Paul said it was a 42-inch railing and
Yeah.
we had visions of
Safety
kids
zone.
throwing stuff over.
Mhm.
What I'm not clear about is whether that now back if you look, the first thing that people would see if that's clear glass is a bunch of little kids right up there.
Well, what he it's going to be a wall. I forget how high the wall is.
48
There's
inches or
40
something,
something. Yeah, it's probably almost a 4-foot high wall.
That's a
And
railing,
then-
yeah.
And then from the wall to the ceiling was going to be windows or glass
Glass,
or
right.
Okay.
yeah.
Clear
And so,
or
Yeah.
probably, yeah.
Okay,
And
good.
then into the wall, because this is what we were talking about with little kids and fingerprints. That's where he was putting the portholes, like
Yeah,
fish
yeah,
eye,
you took
that the
42 inch, so the 42 inch wall initially talking about just being glass to 42 inches and then more glass above that, and then
Mhm.
the
then we
fingerprints issue
just like,
came up. So
and
they
there's
were
like,
saying
well, how about we do wall and then windows, like
Mhm.
little fisheye windows that kids.
it'd be a lot of fun to
That would be a
peer
lot
in
of
through
fun to
portals
peer into,
to
and that
watch
you
people
won't
come
see
in,
fingerprints
and they'll this much fingerprints instead
right
of
instead
this
of
much
plate
fingerprints.
glass fingerprints.
So it kind of brings us back then to the thing about the security thing. Our feeling was if nothing changes as regards the atrium, then that making that so that the kid. However, if the access is changed, it's have
Yeah.
whatever you want.
Right. I
Yeah.
think preliminary with when we last talked
Okay.
to them, there were like support teams for the right?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
they just kind of drew a wall along one of them, and we didn't really finalize the look of it or anything like that. I
Which is
think
one of the
there's-
last things we just
and it
with
was
them. It may not just be a total area. I mean,
yeah,
like
we had the idea that it was more like a crying almost. Like
yeah.
you have your older children are in here doing this, and this child is there for the reading time, and your 2-year-old is just let's go in here and play with blocks, so that it's
Right.
home, but mommy's there with the kids. It's not
Mhm.
like we were just dumping a bunch of 2-year-olds in a room.
Mhm.
So security wise, all the parents would be there. So
Mhm.
that's not, that's another thing to consider with all
Yeah.
of the children's areas. There's parents everywhere. There are parents everywhere in the children's area all the time. So I think that's a security issue. Are concerned it is.
To some of the staff, some of our staff, they had others, and then I realized that with that area and with lots of the areas, to build in flexibility,
Yeah.
because we're building it for this decade.
Right.
20 years from now, people might actually want, the director at that time, if Matt goes on someplace else, may want to rearrange some of the things. They may want to change some of the desks downstairs and make them,
Right.
flip the reference desk with some other
Whatever,
idea.
yeah.
So when we actually finalized those plans, that glass balcony or whatever, would just be open to uses for a variety of different things.
Yeah, it would almost end up just being another available room.
Mm-hmm.
And it's toddler space because we just decided to call it toddler space because it's right near the children's area, right near the.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was there first. It was Megan's first, Paul and
Maybe
Megan's
senior
first
citizen.
suggestion.
Yeah, right, it might just be, put a little teapot in there, grandma.
That's
Yeah,
just-
yeah.
Still be
Comfortable.
toddlers.
It might actually be, yeah, it might actually be a
They'll be
nice,
toddling in a
comfortable,
different
quiet
way.
reading area, something like that, so.
Yeah.
So anyway, the final thought was,
Can I just, one last
yeah,
question?
sure, Norma.
When you met with Paul, what were his thoughts about the, looking at the grounds area for the, electrical services outside, audio, projection, screen, Wi-Fi access? What were his thoughts about that?
He didn't specifically, he said, yeah, it sounds logical, but I think he was thinking that's way down somewhere, that he's got bigger fish to fry right now. He kind of moved on quickly from that. And that was something, obviously that Kate Schmidt, because the Parks and Rec hook, was pushing very hard for. And she was at the second meeting, yes, and made her pitch there. But there wasn't a lot of
Okay.
stuff.
Thank
The most of the discussion on that, Norma, was we had said before Kate, in our first meeting, and Kate was not at the first meeting, we said, for this outdoor thing, particularly like a Shakespeare in the Park, we thought it should be on the backside of the building because of road noise
Right.
from 207. She came into the second meeting and said, oh, no, she didn't think that was going to be a problem. And I said, wow, I've heard motorcycles out there and whatnot make a racket some nights.
Well,
So,
the green where we have Shakespeare in the Park now is still gonna be a green, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
And so Shakespeare's not gonna move.
yeah,
No.
okay.
Yeah, Shakespeare, and it's going to be pretty much behind the library.
Okay.
basically.
Much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
some of that's a carryover from the 2008 project, because they actually, the word is that they actually had planned for an amphitheater and actually had it covered by donations
Oh,
at the time. So I don't know who or what donations, but so a lot of that discussion stems from that carryover. We're really not taking that into consideration for this. I mean, like, even if we, looking at the plans, where do we dovetail an amphitheater onto this building directly?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it'd be a separate structure, and as such,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not part of the scope of this first phase of the project.
right.
Right.
Well, we just wanted to make clear that we're not talking about significant structural alterations. This would be services. So outlets,
okay.
connectors for audio, large screen, projection screen, but not necessarily any alteration of the building per se. Kate had pushed very hard to expand the kitchen thing, for these functions, to be able to service a lot of people and whatnot, and we thought that was problematic. Kyle Roddy, as a matter of fact, objected to competition with the village restaurants.
Yeah,
So-
it's nice to go to Sunflower Cafe, get a salad
Right.
and a
Well,
juice,
right,
and bring it
just
to the
have
park.
Right.
Have some vending, let them
Right.
have vending at the park, and let the local shops vend at the park, let's do
Yeah.
it that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we had to add outlets in front of this building in the last few
Couple
years
times, yeah.
for the big band group.
Mm.
because They just didn't have the
Sure.
amplifier power.
Yeah. It sounds like something we would probably do anyway.
Yeah.
but,
Yeah. It's just, it needs to be planned in. I think that was
Yeah, right.
the point.
An outlet.
Yeah.
An outlet. We can swing it out. Hang up a sheet, we'll be fine. Project it.
There was just one other thought that actually came out of the meeting that we had with Paul.
Okay,
And clearly Paul has had a lot of experience and he's got some very strong ideas. And the committee asked that I just address form versus function, artistry versus functionality. I guess they were thinking a lot about the atrium, but the fact that, we're hoping that in the end, the architect is an advisor to the board, but that the board really makes the final decision on these things. Okay?
yes, thank you very much,
Great,
Bill.
thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
And
Good
yes,
job.
and thank you
Yeah.
for all the work you guys put in. Okay. Now, this,
RCLS direct access plan, you just have to accept that.
okay, so the direct access plan, you wanna just give us a once over?
This is the newest plan. This is just, I should leave it to an RCLS trustee to explain.
Yeah.
But this is basically the plan that outlines.
Bill, come back here.
the responsibilities.
You're on your own.
You just gave a lovely presentation, it's your turn.
Responsibility of the member libraries under RCLS, and as far as services are concerned, and it outlines responsibilities if you're a member of the library in good standing with RCLS, and someone has a card. So your library that they're able to use this, that's what Direct Access is. You can take your card over to Moffett, take your card over to, and that there are safeguards built into this. So if a library is being used more than it should be by patrons that aren't actually paying for that service, that there are routes of grievance that you go through RCLS to have that rectified, etc. I read through it tonight. I mean, it's not all that different, I don't believe. Sorry, Robert, if it is and I missed something. Than the last one, because it's a very good. I mean, it does its job. It's it's a document that basically is there just to keep library members playing nicely together and to make sure as many people are served as possible. It has a couple paragraphs in here about libraries being able to contract out services for unserved areas. I was surprised at the number of unserved areas, actually. A total of 31,071 people within the RCLS service area are unserved, which is pretty remarkable. But then he goes to say this does not reflect the 38,406 people who live in unserved areas which are covered by contracts with member libraries. So big.
So
if you
that's
look
a
at the
lot of
map,
people.
you'll be
So
amazed
if
at how
they
many
didn't have
people are not.
contracts, they'd have nothing.
Right, they'd have nothing. And that's
Wow.
why in the past we talked about the special legislative district library, which would allow you to absorb some of if the people wanted to be absorbed,
Right.
and wanted to pay the taxes, absorb some of those unserved areas. But, I mean, I advise, if I do ask my advice, I think the plan is a good one, and I see no reason not to accept it.
I just have a question.
Sure.
On page 3, 5B.
That's us down there, yeah.
I know.
Isn't that nice to be in highlights like that? I know.
What did we?
That's because of
just
the-
because I did not memorize the state report.
It's just the variance, it's just that
Okay.
variance request because we checked off many years back a couple portions of the annual report ask you whether your library is sufficient in certain areas and we said no, not enough space, etc. So now Moffitt's
That's
not
good.
actually on here, this has probably been removed, this is from the latest draft because of they just did their groundbreaking. So
Mhm.
we're the last one here and we won't be for long. But
Right.
that's-
Okay.
Yeah, Moffett might still
Just
be
mention.
on there just because they're not moved into their new
Right.
dig.
Yeah.
They're-
Right.
They're old new digs, yeah, but,
I
But
thought she
either.
said she was off there, she was gloating, but maybe,
Oh.
kidding, just not gloating.
Okay.
The people that aren't served, there's some, I think they're in the town of Chester, I'm not sure. If they come here and say, I want to use your library, is this $40.61 what we would charge them?
No, they don't get charged. It gets a little complicated. Because they live in a situation where there are less than 10,000 people, but there is no municipality, there's no way for them to set up, it's not as if they're not wanting to pay the taxes. Those few sort of orphan people either go to Chester or us, but they don't pay extra. They just get a card. Now there are other situations where we had a contract, for instance, with Way Under for a long time, and they
Right.
paid that. I think we charged them $50 or something like that.
the,
Right.
the town did.
The town
Or
paid
town,
it.
the town
The
did,
town
yeah.
paid it, yeah.
Through basically they would go to
Right.
their town hall and the town hall.
And then
would
they got
give them-
Right.
cheaper service from
Exactly.
somebody else, or why did they not come here?
They got
every
it cheaper somewhere else, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Every year they go out and sort of rebid it,
Yeah.
try to find a library in the area that would give them. I think they're Port Jervis now, actually.
year? Yeah, I think so.
Right. But yeah, there are some areas because of the way this works, the way the law works, not even the way this document works, where they're not forced to pay because there's nothing they can do about it. They
Yeah.
can't. It's not as if they have a sufficient
Some
number
other
to be
option,
able to
yeah.
go and create, a library and create. So they sort of fall into the cracks between the cracks, and they're able to use either Chester or our library.
Okay, so,
The other areas that aren't served there actually are larger areas that have opted for years to not establish their own library in their community. Large areas, so that's why this number is large, because it encompasses those areas as well. So it's a high number, but they've opted against establishing a library.
Yeah, he
in those
says somewhere
areas.
in here, after 10 years of trying to get
Mhm.
them to set up a library for themselves, they've rejected that. So
Mhm.
there's only so much RCLS can do.
yeah.
It's not, it has to do with their
And then and that's not counting down in Monroe. What do they call it?
Kears
Yeah,
Trail.
Kears Trail. Who they had plans to build their own library, and their plans did not conform to the state's requirements So essentially, they are not served either, I would imagine.
No, they're
Yeah,
not
so,
anymore. They were for a long time by Monroe, and then they were.
yeah,
Carved out.
because they were headed towards the new library, they were carved out, right? So, that's why the number seems higher than it encompasses those two areas, so.
So can I have a motion to accept the direct access plan? Oh, everybody's so excited to do this, this is so great. So Norma and Emily, all in favor?
Aye.
Alrighty, motion passes. Okay, we need to set up a nominating committee for, officers for, yes ma'am?
You appoint them.
Oh, I appoint them.
Yeah.
Oh, who wants to do it? Bernie wants to do it.
We don't do that after the election?
I
just
thought
in
we
case?
did, but,
Yes,
No.
we
Yeah.
did, we've done it in, yeah.
Well, according to the we can look at the bylaws and change them later, but
Yeah,
according to the bylaws,
okay, we're gonna
currently,
appoint Bernie.
we pick,
Goes
you
so far.
appoint two people.
I appoint Bernie.
Um,
And,
I was hoping Emily or Megan would do it.
yeah,
For what?
I'll appoint Bernie and Emily, cause, oh, Megan, she's not here. Appoint Bernie. That's what you get for not coming to a meeting.
You sure you
right?
wanna appoint
Wait,
Jim?
what do the bylaws, the bylaws say before an election? Because that's not fair to people.
Before
Right.
before the organizational meeting, and the organizational meeting occurs immediately after the election. Yeah, so as it stands on this year's calendar, yeah, our election is this week.
Mhm. Right.
And then our next meeting
Is
is the
May.
organizational meeting with the new people.
With new people.
I agree, it sounds strange because now we don't know if 2 seats are gonna be,
Yeah,
yeah.
Right, so I can't,
Whoever comes
so I
in,
can't
yeah.
make Keith or Norma do this, cause they might not be,
Right.
so that's why it's on.
I mean, all we can do is, oh, that's true too, yeah.
Yes, ma'am,
Technically, the reorganization happens as the last thing in the next meeting.
right,
So Keith and Norma would both be
At
at
the
that
last
meeting,
meeting.
at the next meeting and functioning in their positions
right,
so-
so we're not reorganizing until the end of the May 9th
at the
meeting.
end of the May 9th meeting.
Ah, alright.
But the possibility still exists that you would want to pick people that you were sure were
Okay,
gonna be.
maybe we
Pardon
won't
me.
be at the next meeting.
But the reality is we would, well, the timing, everything, I mean, how we've done it in the past was,
And then you would know what the results of the election
right.
for the committee to be able to make their.
So as it's only 2 days, the election's only 2 days away, we're in a good spot, where in previous years, I think generally we just go for direct contact or through email for suggestions as to what the slate should be. And yeah, it's just been like a week between the election and the meeting or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Depending, so we'll actually get a whole month that we'll know whether the current board
stay
is
in.
And the
static
bylaws
or
state
not.
that the people are in agreement for the position that they're being nominated, so the
Right, so
nominating
you ask
committee
them.
would be discussing it with those persons that they were considering
Right,
to
and then they just
nominate.
put forth the slate and everybody goes, okay, and then we
And
put
you
You
it
can
on.
always
secretary.
add, at the meeting, you can always add another candidate.
You can, right.
Right, nominations are
From
open.
the floor.
From the floor.
That's right. Needed.
Yeah, okay. Alright, so I don't wanna appoint people who don't actually wanna be involved, but, but, yes.
Do it anyway.
I know. So there you go, for Megan and who else? We did do that to, we did it to Ryan one time, didn't we?
Yes.
Every time Ryan would miss a meeting, we
Yes.
appointed him to things. So you get, yeah,
No,
so,
I'll do it.
yeah, okay, so
I'm
Jim,
fine.
and do you want to do it, Norma? Because you will be here at the next meeting.
Maybe.
Maybe, you wanna do it maybe? Okay. Keith?
What?
It's like
Looking
hot
for a
potato.
firm.
I'm looking for, Emily, I'm sorry, do you wanna do it? She looks frightened.
So I'm
So-
not part of the nominating committee?
You are now a part
No,
of
you can.
the, you can.
You can be on the slate.
You can
and
be
you
on the
can
slate and be on the committee,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay,
Alright, go
Sure.
for it.
alright,
So, Jim and Emily,
You and I will,
okay,
you,
okay.
there you go.
I mean, basically, what we've done in the past is just you guys contact people individually or together, and then you guys meet sometime before the organization meeting and figure out what the slate's gonna
Present
be.
a slate.
Yeah.
okay.
Right, and then
Sounds
at the next
good.
meeting,
So
present a
we'll-
slate and we all go, yeah, it's great, or we go like, oh wait, we want so-and-so, and then,
Okay.
yes, it's
So your
painless, it's
people-
mostly painless.
your people will get in touch with my people.
Your That's right, you don't need to have your cat. Yeah. You couldn't meet at her house. Alright, so is there anything else we have to do? We've talked about, having, our, foundation set up for at the next meeting.
Yeah, we
Anything
did a
else we're gonna
lot.
do?
Did a
We
lot
did,
today.
we were really busy. And so obviously we're gonna have the reorganization at the next meeting, swearing in of trustees, correct? Or is that the following meeting,
No, we will swear, the new trustees in,
at the next meeting?
or
Or
the
the old
existing
trustee?
trustees.
That's right, we're swearing the old
There'll be
trustee.
some swearing.
There'll be swearing.
There'll be some kind of swearing.
That's right, okay, so anything else need to be added to next month's agenda that you know of right now? Going once, going twice, alright.
Oh, what are you doing with directors? Are we, director's evaluation you're gonna send out?
I am going to
So-
send,
Yes, that
that's
to
actually
me.
the responsibility of the vice president, and I fumbled the ball because
I will
I thought we were
email
doing
it to
this at the
you.
next meeting, so
Okay.
I
We're
didn't,
off
so
the meeting.
Jim can edit it however he likes and send it to this existing board, and so this board will evaluate Matt.
So
And,
then
Well, we
if we
don't-
bring it to the next meeting,
yes,
and then,
and then the human
More like-
resources committee compiles it,
right,
and then we
Okay.
tell Matt what a terrible job he's doing, and that we hate him and he's tired, and then we, yes, okay.
So that doesn't need to be on the agenda either? Nothing,
What?
nothing about that needs to be on the agenda?
No,
Okay,
that's
alright.
fine. Okay, privilege of the floor? We do have one thing to discuss in executive session, it's painless, so. Sorry, I know you thought you were leaving at 10 to 9, I know. Okay. Thank you very much.
Oh, we need to,
We're going into executive session.
I'll
I
make
need
a
someone
motion to go
make a
into
motion.
executive session.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
And Bernie will second it.
And
Thank you very
all in
much.
favor?
All in favor?
Okay.
Yay.
Okay.
thank you.